Good morning. Oh, my wife always tells me I have a loud voice, so I was like, I don't want to scream. But good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Enrico. I'm the CEO of Algo Grande. This is a relatively different company than probably you've been presented this morning because it's a very new company. We just IPO'd it in the TSXV on December 2025. Unlike many of the companies that you've seen today that have a number of licenses, we are actually focused on one license. It was brought to us by Peter McGaw, the founder of Mag Silver and one of the greatest geologists to have worked in Mexico. He discovered the Juanicipio mine in Zacatecas, which is one of the largest silver mines in the Western Hemisphere. I'll tell you a little bit about our team. But maybe, oh, here you go. I'm not sure if this is totally working. Are you controlling this? Oh, okay. Can you hit the next slide? Okay, so this is our company management team right now. Myself, I was one of the founders along with João Roca, who is a European geologist, similar age as me, so we're relatively younger people in the industry. João worked for Plethora Private Equity, a Norwegian private equity fund, and BHP Exploro. He's an extremely talented young geologist. And when I met him 2 years ago, we had a very focused sort of mission that we both agreed on, which is we need to get a company started that is going to be working in exploring for new copper discoveries. And we also wanted to focus on high-grade copper, so north of 1%. There's a lot of copper projects that are being shopped around that are 0.3, 0.4%. Actually, the global average of production today comes from that 0.4, 0.5%, very large-scale porphyry copper deposits. There's nothing wrong with that type of a deposit in the hands of a multi-billion-dollar company, but when you have a small cap, a startup, it's really not feasible to develop such a large project. It costs hundreds of millions just to drill and delineate and make those discoveries. High grade, it's more concentrated, it's just less earth to process, and it's more feasible. So we wanted to focus on high grade, and that process took us to a number of places, including Morocco, but eventually Peter McGaw, who I just spoke to you about, he's one of the greatest geologists in North America, brought us the Adelita project, which is what I'm going to be showing you today. We recently also brought in Raymond Hannas, who was the founder and CEO of Atex Resources, which started out as a $10, $15 million market cap company, and thanks to his drive and vision and discovery of the deep porphyry asset there is now more than a $500 million market cap. He's a Harvard PhD grad, porphyry and epithermal deposit expert. And he's joined our board recently, and he's going to be leading as chairman. I think one of the reasons why somebody of his caliber is coming to a small cap company like ours is because he sees the potential in the geology that me and João also see. And then we have Tim McCutcheon, Kevin Ma, Gord Neal as directors. Hunter Scarf is another young entrepreneur from Canada, who actually has a defense startup, really interesting project. And Dr. Peter McGaw, Michael Williams, and John McVeigh are our technical advisors. And yeah, next slide. So this is our structure, and our market cap right now is around 30 million Canadian dollars. We have a very disciplined structure. We have no warrants. We just raised $6.5 million at 65 cents. Our stock is trading at roughly 72 cents as per yesterday's close. And so it's very important for us to maintain a very tight structure because we are making a high-grade copper discovery. And my intention as an entrepreneur, CEO, businessman, also investor myself, is to make sure that myself and my shareholders, that if we get it right, that we make a significant return and that the stock can really re-rate. So it's important not to have that overhang of the warrants, a lot of shares, and et cetera. So next slide. So today we're going to talk about the state of Sonora, Mexico. I heard a gentleman before here saying that for mining there is no place like Mexico. I would certainly confirm that statement. You know, in terms of attitude, government, permitting, you know, there's nothing like Mexico. You know, our drill permits were expedited. So we submitted the permits in July 2025, and we got them in August. So it's very fast. They understand mining. The state of Sonora is one of the greatest mining states of Mexico. This is where 80% of the copper production in Mexico is coming from. It all makes its way to Asia, by the way, not the United States. You know, I thought before buying this project, certainly you're so close to Arizona that maybe the rock and the copper would be exported to the US, but that's not the case, obviously, because the US does not have refining capacity, so all of it has to go first to Asia, and then I'm sure some of it makes its way back to America. So in the north of the state, some of the largest copper mines that, similar to what I was talking about, right? The 0.6% lower grade, large tonnage, billions of tonnage copper porphyry mines owned by Grupo Mexico, Southern Copper. We are in the southern part of the state, and we're right next to a Pan American Silver Alamo Dorado mine, and we're 50 kilometers from Piedras Verdes, which is the third largest copper producer in Mexico. So we can keep going. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is our exploration license. It's 6,000 hectares, so relatively large size. On this image, I'd like to just point out the Alamo Dorado mine next door to us. This is really adjacent to us. It's less than 3 kilometers away. And then we have a large water dam system beside us. So in terms of, you know, mining future potential of this license, it's extremely high based on, you know, the amount of geology that I'm about to show you, but also location. You're at surface level, and you're next to a water body, which is extremely important, especially with copper production. You need a lot of water. It's very water intensive, so this is really key. Next slide. So this is a simplification just to visualize the license. You'll see this mountainous corridor here with this red depiction. This is, to make it simple, it's a 6-kilometer limestone corridor. Limestone is extremely important in this setting for this high-grade copper deposit because it is the host rock where the hydrothermal process basically lifted these metals from a deeper intrusion, and when it came to contact with the limestone, it created this very high-grade copper, gold, silver type of deposit. We call them skarns. So skarns tend to be high-grade. There's a lot of silver skarns. It's actually a little bit not typical to have a copper, gold, silver skarn the way we do, but that's what we're working with. Additionally, so you'll see this 300-meter zone here is where all the data that exists really on the project, all the drilling has occurred in this 300 meters. It's roughly 6,000 meters worth of drilling, and we have some pretty significant intercepts here, which showed me and Joao that this was a good project for us to buy. But most importantly, the reason why we bought it is because we saw that there were significant gaps in the way this was explored previously. It was never drilled with orientated core, which allows you to understand the geometry and overall direction of the skarn deposit. There was never a detailed magnetic survey conducted over this area, even though the skarn is high-grade. The high-grade skarn is magnetite rich. So magnetite is going to respond extremely well to a drone magnetic survey, which we're conducting now. In the next few weeks, there's going to be a news release on that regard, and it's going to be very important because it will tell us what the scale of the project will be. The project is extremely high grade. It starts from surface, so it's very economical, but really the question mark is around scale. Like, can it get really to a size where a major or a mid-tier mining company would be interested in buying it, or even or for us to turn it into a mine. So next slide. This is just soils surface level data that we collect samples, rock samples, and you can see the grade that we're working with, even like from surface, you're very consistently above 4% copper. I should disclaimer that surface geology is always high grade. It's always higher grade than what's underground. So, but you obviously see these hot zones where you see more high grades part per million copper, gold, and also molybdenum. And these are our targets. So next slide. So now we're getting to the important stuff. So this is that 6-kilometer limestone corridor that I was telling you about before. Very important to highlight that it's a 6-kilometer long limestone corridor because it gives you an idea of like the potential size of the skarn that can be created. It's a very large area. So if we can extend this mineralization that I'm about to show you, which is here in purple, our goal is to extend it to the south and to the northwest, and also further down here. This is actually a different type of skarn, but it outcrops for 300 meters. It's high grade, north of 3% copper, and it's 3 kilometers away from the flagship discovery that I'm about to show you, and it's undrilled. So really what I think is, not to give too much of a forward-looking statement, I believe that we're going to find a number of these high-grade skarns. They're not going to be all connected. That would be a massive high-grade skarn deposit. It's usually not the way these things work. They more work in packages. But I think we're going to find multiple. So next slide. So this is actually what it looks like today. We have an array of drill holes that we're displaying here. These are some just like highlights to give you guys an understanding of the deposit. So the deposit is very vertical in nature. It starts from the surface. Previous operators drilled vertically because they liked splashy news releases like 100 meters of 1% copper or 200 meters. But this is not proving real thickness of the deposit, but it's proving verticality, which is also important. What we did something quite different. We actually drilled less vertically, more horizontally to try to understand really true thickness. And those are green holes are our new phase 1 holes that we drilled right after acquiring the project last year in December. We were already, maybe a couple of weeks before the exchange approved of the transaction, we were already drilling. And we did 2,000 meters just to prove the first thing that we wanted to prove was that what we bought in fact was bigger. And in fact it was. So the dark purple is the new discovery. So we discovered 3 new high-grade skarn zones. So this hole 02, this 14 meters at 1.4% copper is one of those highlights. But there were other intervals, and overall it was 40 meters above 1% copper. And also important to point out, very consistently in this deposit, we're finding 0.5 grams per ton gold and anywhere between 30 to 150 grams per ton silver. So actually, it would be more correct to say this is a copper, silver, gold deposit. Next slide. So this is where it gets a little bit, this is some blue sky potential. Additionally, to us expanding the skarn system to the northwest, to the south, and make the high-grade part of the system of significant scale that would be really interesting to all the players involved in the mining industry. We also have the potential for the feeder zone, the porphyry system that created the skarn. Remember before I said skarns are formed by a hydrothermal process that is carrying these metals up in the surface, and when it meets the host rock, it makes this high-grade deposit. But where are the metals coming from? These deeper intrusions that are coming from the Earth's mantle. And we have a very good reason to believe now that there is a large porphyry system right underneath the skarn. Obviously, this would be lower grade. It would be a different type of deposit, probably 0.4, 0.3. That's the standard for this part of Mexico. But it would change, if we were to discover this, it would change the scale of the project. It would change the type of company that is probably going to be potentially acquiring this from us, because large companies need projects that can be in production for 30, 40, 50 years. And this would, discovering a skarn on top of a porphyry and having that vertically integrated system would be pretty compelling. Why do we believe that we have this? I'm not a geologist. I wish Joao was here. He could explain it a lot better, but essentially we have molybdenum, which is associated with porphyries. It's spiking at the bottom in the deepest part of the holes. We have a spike in molybdenum. We also have some of our highest grade, 4% copper, right at the bottom where you would expect things to be getting warmer. So it all makes sense. Next slide. I think we're done. We're out of time, but yeah, we can skip this. This is more geophysics showing what's going on deeper underground. I think one slide forward, because I'm out of time. One slide forward. One slide forward. So I just wanted to really finish off by stating our objectives and what we're about to do. So in May, we're going to start drilling, and we're going to be drilling 10,000 meters. We're fully funded for this. We raised $6.5 million in February. Our number one objective is to make that skarn that I was showing you much bigger. So focused on the northwest and south expansion. So if we can take it from a 300-meter zone to up to 1.5 kilometers, that can really increase the size of that high-grade skarn. And then we're also going to be drilling along this corridor. So we'll have 2 rigs working. And at some point, we may find it appropriate to also drill some of those deeper holes to target the porphyry at depth. So yeah, that's the presentation. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.